Buongiorno a tutti ragazzi, buongiorno dal Fan Village dell'Inito ATP Finals. Siamo all'interno dello splendido stand Dunlop e abbiamo un grandissimo ospite. Io vi invito ancora tutti ad avvicinarvi perché qui abbiamo uno dei più grandi allenatori di tennis della storia. Naturalmente stiamo parlando del grande, and you must correct me if I'm wrong the accent, you know, or your pronunciation.
Try.
Patrick Mouratoglu. Is correct?
Wonderful, perfect.
Great. Okay.
Good start, very good start.
Pleased to meet you.
Nice presentation. I didn't understand, but I'm sure it was great.
Okay, thank you. You can sit here because I have a lot of questions for you.
Good.
Have you time?
Yeah, of course.
Great. Allora,
Depends how long, but yes, I have time.
there is two pages. Ok, noi abbiamo qui uno dei più grandi allenatori, ha allenato davvero i più grandi campioni, li ha portati dal basso fino ad arrivare al tetto del mondo. E allora è interessante avere qui con noi lui per fargli delle domande. Inizierei con la prima. Io gli chiederei come fa appunto a trasformare un buon giocatore in uno dei più grandi giocatori del mondo. First question is, what are the things that you believe turn a good player into a great tennis player?
A lot of people focus on the technique and the tactic, on the things that are very obvious to the eyes. I think what makes people special, what makes people really extraordinary in what they do is more the way they process, the way they think. And I've seen that many times in my life because I'm working with a lot of young players. And the ones who have a mindset that is the mindset of a champion always go further than the ones who play great tennis, but they don't have the right mindset. Because the way you think, the way you see yourself, the way you process things are going to have an incredible consequence on what you're going to achieve every day. And what you become 10 years later is just the accumulation of little tiny results of what you produce every single day of your life. So I would say that the mindset, the way people process, their ability to set high standards, their ability to perform every day. For example, some players know how to win, some players don't. The people who know how to win, they know how to find a way to win, they know how to adapt to situations, will always go further. I'm not saying that it's a gift, and if you don't have the gift, you're done. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying actually the opposite. I'm just saying that if you're able to have to transform your mindset into the mindset of someone who thinks like a champion, you have a good chance to go much further than people who maybe are more talented than you, but don't have the right mindset. And if you look at the Grand Slams, who is winning the Grand Slams? So people think because they're the best. Yes, but why they're the best? Yeah. If you meet the same players when they're 14, 15, and you remember how they were, maybe they were not the most outstanding in terms of playing standards. Maybe you would think, oh, nothing special, and I can name some, but I don't want to be bad. But no, some were not impressive when they were 14, tennis-wise. But if you speak to them, you think, wow, they have something special. And I always like to discuss with the young players and have one-on-one discussions.
Like a mental coach.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I speak to them to know how they think, how they process. And then I have a good feeling of how far they can go. So just to answer your question shortly, the mindset makes all the difference for me.
Allora, cerco di riassumere perché ha detto tante cose, magari tanti di voi avranno capito. Giustamente Patrick dice, tanti magari si fermano soltanto a capire se un giocatore ha la tecnica e ha l'approccio giusto, ma non è questo che fa di un bravo giocatore un campione. Lui dice, guardate nel grande slam per esempio, non sono tanti a vincere, sono spesso sempre gli stessi grandi campioni a vincere i tornei del grande slam. Perché questo? Perché si tratta di una concezione mentale. Ha fatto un esempio, diceva tanti giocatori non conoscono la sconfitta. Lui dice non accettano la sconfitta oppure da una sconfitta non sanno imparare, ed è quello che fa la differenza. Analizzare giorno dopo giorno, partita dopo partita, sconfitta dopo sconfitta per porsi sempre un miglioramento graduale che poi porta dei grandi risultati se si è saputo costruire un percorso di crescita giorno dopo giorno, allenamento dopo allenamento, gara dopo gara e soprattutto, mi piace sottolinearla questa cosa, sconfitta dopo sconfitta. Poi lui lavora, lui dice io lavoro con tanti bambini, lui ha un'academy molto famosa in tutta Europa, la più famosa d'Europa, Francia, lui lavora sui bambini, lui dice a me piace parlare con i giocatori per capire come si approcciano all'allenamento, alla sconfitta e come vogliono migliorarsi giorno dopo giorno, ed è questo il modo in cui io riesco a carpire, a trovare quel soggetto con cui posso fare un percorso che poi porta all'eccellenza. Great.
If I'm so long every time, we're not going to do all the questions. Huh? I'll try to be shorter.
Don't worry. We are here. We stay very well inside the Dunlop stand. What's your greatest achievement as a coach? Le ho chiesto qual è il suo più grande successo da allenatore. Questa è una cosa importante, visto che lui ha allenato tantissimi campioni.
This is a question that I'm often asked. It's very difficult for me to answer that question because I don't want to say that a higher achievement in terms of winning a Grand Slam is bigger than maybe a smaller one, because everything is in a way as difficult. What I love to do is work with people who are in trouble, because I feel there is a huge challenge and I love to start from zero. So I often in the past, and I still do, because even Serena, when I started to work with her, it was a very difficult period in her career. Then I started with Simona Halep also. She wanted to stop tennis. At that time, she was questioning about stopping. So I like to be at those moments where everything is difficult, because the challenge is the biggest. And when you find a way to get the result in those moments, the achievement is very big. But I have, of course, big memories. And I have, when I was starting my career, I have big memories. And I value them as much as the first time as a coach when I won a Grand Slam, which was with Serena, but also when Marcos reached the final of the Australian Open, Bagdatis, was the first time for me as a coach to have a Grand Slam finalist, was big too. So I don't want to say that one is bigger than the other, but when you come back from a very difficult situation with a player that is really struggling, being close to stopping tennis, or feeling completely lost, and you help him finding his way back and have success again, this is really a special achievement. And I always say my biggest achievement, it's in the eyes of my player. When you feel the player is so happy and fulfilled with what he's able to achieve, this is the biggest reward you can get.
Ha detto delle cose fantastiche, non so se avete capito, ha fatto tanti esempi di tanti giocatori che ha allenato, ha parlato di Serena Williams, ovviamente Bagdatis. Lui ha detto sarebbe facile dire che il più grande successo della mia carriera è quella di portare un giocatore a vincere una prova del Grande Slam, perché è normale che stiamo parlando dei tornei più importanti del mondo, ma lui, e mi riallaccio anche alla domanda di prima, lui diceva a me piace vedere i ragazzi che hanno dei grandi successi nella Youth League, dove magari si parte da zero, dal basso, e poi cercare di portarli ad alto livello. Ha fatto anche un esempio, uno dei grandi successi è stato quello di magari vedere dei giocatori che stavano smettendo la loro carriera, avevano deciso di smetterla, riprenderli, riportarli al top e riportarli alla vittoria quando ormai loro pensavano di essere arrivati al massimo della loro carriera. E un altro esempio è stato quello che poi con il quale Patrick conclude questa risposta, è però al di là di questi che sono sicuramente arricchimenti per trofei, lui dice il più grande obiettivo e la più grande soddisfazione è vedere gli occhi dei miei giocatori e vedere la loro gioia quando hanno raggiunto il massimo. Questo è il maggior appagamento che un coach può avere. Third question.
Let's go.
Adesso voglio chiedergli qual è la caratteristica principale che i suoi giocatori devono avere. Quindi ne ha già in parte risposto, ma è interessante entrare più nel dettaglio. What is the core value that a player must necessarily have, in your opinion, to succeed as a tennis player?
I would say that the first one is the culture of victory. because this job, professional tennis player, is about winning matches. That's their job, is to win matches. Of course, everybody cares about winning, but more or less. And sometimes, for example, I come back to technique again. Some people are completely obsessed with technique. Technique is just one way to bring you to where you want to be. It's not something that is more important than victory. I heard also a lot of people say, I have to make a lot of technical change, so I'm going to lose for 1 year, but it's okay because I need to change the technique. I disagree with that. You can't accept to lose. Of course, it's part of the game. When it happens, but you have to have really the culture of victory. That's the first thing. I think also what is important is to have a very big ego, and I say it in a positive way, not in a negative way, of course. What is a big ego? A big ego is able to believe in yourself. So the biggest champions believe deeply that they're going to make it. And the example of Holger Rune is a good example because he's very young, and for him it was the first time he would play against those guys that he was, for some of them, watching on TV, they were his idols. But when he plays them, he thinks he's going to beat them. It's not disrespectful, it's respectful for him. I remember Novak, when he started, there were already two monsters, Rafa and Roger, and they were beating everybody. And at that time, all the top 10s, they were thinking it's impossible to win a Grand Slam because those guys are too good. When Novak started to be on tour, he was 18, 19. I remember the first time he played Roger in a Grand Slam, he said in an interview, I'm going to beat him. And I remember the press was saying, who's this guy? What is this? He's disrespectful. No, he believed in himself. So this ability to believe in oneself breaks a lot of barriers, where others hit the wall because they don't believe deeply. And you can see it watching the matches. So I would say this, I don't know if it's a value or not, but it's an attribute that is extremely necessary. And also for another reason, there are a lot of ups and downs in a career. The people who really deeply believe, when it's a down, they keep believing. The other ones, they stop believing there. And I've seen a lot of players at some point giving up because they don't really believe. So those two things, to have high expectations also, but it comes together. The best players practice better because they expect from themselves this level. And if they play this level, they don't accept. And they find a way to raise to that level every time. Another one that is very important is the ability to focus. The best players in the world, if you see them practice, the level of focus is much higher than any other player. They are 100% into what they're doing when they're doing it. It's not that they practice 20 hours a day, but it's better to practice 1 hour with full focus than 4 hours with half focus. So the ability to focus and give 100% is a key. And I would say there are probably others, but the main ones is also the ability to fight in the matches. But this comes also along with the self-confidence, the ego. Well, if you really believe in yourself, it's going to be easier to fight when it's difficult. If you don't really believe when it's going to be difficult, you might give up. And at the end, it makes a huge difference.
Allora, anche qui ha detto delle cose interessantissime, io mi auguro che voi capiate perché magari io poi mi perdo, mi prendo un po' di appunti perché voglio almeno le parole chiave trasmettervele perché sono davvero un insegnamento incredibile. Lui ha parlato di intanto culture of victory, quindi cultura della vittoria, nel senso che lui dice la prima cosa che io devo trovare è un giocatore che abbia il culto della vittoria, quindi che voglia tutte le volte che scende in campo vincere. Questo è fondamentale perché sennò non si può diventare campioni. L'altra cosa importantissima, lui ha parlato di big ego, quindi di un grande ego, però giustamente lui dice ma nell'eccezione positiva, non negativa del termine, vuol dire credere in se stessi, che poi l'altro discorso che faceva, quindi voler essere loro i primi loro fan, i loro sostenitori, avere chiare quelle che sono le loro aspettative e quello che vogliono raggiungere, così come l'ability focus, quindi aver ben chiaro quello che vogliono raggiungere, quello che vogliono diventare. Ha fatto un esempio chiaro con Novak Djokovic, che quando ha iniziato la sua carriera da giovane era impensabile che potesse vincere un torneo dello Slam, perché davanti aveva due colossi come Roger Federer e Rafa Nadal. Eppure lui dice, a un certo punto lui, insieme al suo staff, ha iniziato a dire: io voglio essere lì, voglio stare tra quelli, voglio vincere degli slam. E oggi stiamo parlando di uno dei più grandi, che addirittura ha superato in alcuni numeri questi due colossi. Quindi questi sono i punti che secondo lui sono così importanti, come ovviamente l'abilità di lottare durante una gara e di modificare il proprio aspetto, proprio per non voler perdere, quello che dicevamo prima. E adesso voglio chiedergli, visto che siamo all'interno dello stand Dunlop, quanto è importante utilizzare un equipaggiamento di alto livello, premium, come quello Dunlop, per diventare alcuni tra i migliori giocatori del mondo. How important is it for players to use premium quality apparel like Dunlop to get them from the top at the ATP Tour?
So a lot of people don't pay enough attention to those things that are not details. People think it's details. It's not details. Why it's not details? For many reasons. First of all, it's your tool. It's the tool that hits the ball. In a way, it's the end of your hand, the racket. So what you put in your hand is a key to succeed. Of course, if you don't have the qualities to succeed, you're not going to succeed thanks to the racket. But if you have all the qualities and you have bad equipment, it's going to hurt you. It can provoke injuries. It can provoke less quality to your game. And if you have the right equipment, you will prevent yourself from injuries and you will optimize your qualities. As a coach, my goal is to optimize the quality of the player, and Dunlop, the job of the company is to optimize the quality of what's happening on the court. What the player produces will end up as the result that he can produce on the court, which means that the quality, how fast the ball is, how much the ball turns. So there are rackets that produce more spin, those others that produce more power, some others that produce more control. So the idea is to understand what are your qualities and how the brand can give you the tool that will optimize your qualities at the highest level. The best players in the world pay a lot of attention on that. When I say that, I mean the racket they play with and the strings. When I say the racket, which racket am I using? I have power. Do I want a racket that gives me extra power, or do I want a racket that gives me control? It's a good question. I use spin. Do I want a racket that will increase my spin or give me more speed? That's a good question. So it's really a very important question to answer. Now the thing is, you have the racket, you have the customization that you can do to your racket, and then you have the strings, the shoes, and then you have the tension. It's a lot of elements. You have to find a balance between all those elements to optimize your qualities. And it's not an easy question, so it's very important to have brands that are really extremely specialists to those questions to help you think the right way so you can optimize your qualities on the tennis court.
E anche qui ha detto tantissime cose, ha parlato dell'importanza, lui dice la racchetta è un prolungamento del nostro braccio, della nostra mano, quindi è ovvio che è fondamentale intanto per prevenire infortuni e poi per migliorare il dettaglio della propria tecnica, perché puoi avere una grande tecnica ma se non è lo strumento giusto diventa controproducente. Quindi la cosa fondamentale è ovviamente aiutarsi, farsi aiutare da un brand come Dunlop che ti dà quei piccoli dettagli, come lui ha parlato giustamente anche del giusto spin, della durezza, del tiraggio delle corde, tantissimi dettagli che messi insieme ti danno la capacità di diventare un grande campione, perché poi i grandi campioni si distinguono dai dettagli, così come i grandi strumenti come le racchette e le palle che devono avere il giusto rimbalzo e quant'altro. Another question about Dunlop is the #1 ball on tour. which has been used by over 40% of ATP tournaments this year. And what is your experience of the Dunlop tennis ball, and what feedback have you heard from players or coaches about the Dunlop tennis ball, and why it's loved by so many?
First of all, I was born in 1970, and Dunlop has a lot of history with tennis. I remember playing Dunlop when I was a kid. First a wooden racket, and then one of the most famous rackets of all times, the Dunlop 300G, the one played with by McEnroe and then Steffi Graf. And Dunlop ball has always been the most important tennis ball on the market. So the history, the fact that they have this brand, Dunlop, has so much history with tennis. No tennis so well, no tennis players so well. I've been used by probably millions of tennis players, whether I'm talking about the ball or the rackets. Give them the experience and the feedback to know exactly what product they could give in which hands. When Dunlop partnered with the ATP, it was one of the goals was to produce the ball that would be used by most of the tournaments on tour, because it would give exactly what the ATP was expecting from it. A ball that is fast enough, but not too fast. And as the courses are now very similar from a tournament to the other, the only thing that can change is the ball. And I think it was very important to have the best quality ball and to kind of harmonize the ball in most of the tournaments, because otherwise, first of all, the quality of tennis is dropping because the ball are changing all the time, and the players, they do more mistakes. It's very difficult for them to adapt. So once you find the right ball, the best ball on tour, and the ATP has chosen Dunlop for that, the idea was to uniformize as much as possible so we would have the same quality of tennis throughout the season and avoid a lot of injuries, because you have balls lighter, heavier, and this is always a harm for the arm.
Yeah, lui diceva, io sono del 1970, ai tempi Dunlop esisteva già, era già leader in questo settore, addirittura parlava di McEnroe che utilizzava la famosissima racchetta Dunlop, anche Steffi Graf che è stata la più grande tennista donna, e poi diceva perché? Perché stiamo parlando di un'azienda che è nata su questo aspetto, è sempre riuscita a migliorare, e il motivo per il quale ATP, insomma, il circuito si basa e vuole utilizzare questo tipo di racchette, perché riesce ad uniformare la qualità di queste palle, del loro rimbalzo su tutti i tipi di superficie che adesso, meglio di allora, sostanzialmente si stanno uniformando. Parlo delle superfici, le palline devono rispondere in maniera migliore possibile a questo adattamento di superfici. Questo lo può fare grazie ad uno studio, ad una qualità che sta sempre migliorando ed è sempre in crescita, perché questo ovviamente aiuta anche a infortunarsi di meno, avere meno problemi alle braccia, che sappiamo che è uno dei problemi principali dei tennisti. And for last, what's your favorite Dunlop racket? Your, right? Not your players.
It's mine. It's the yellow one that you see it here. Bring it, bring it. You have one?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, they're going to bring it. Yeah, it's amazing. Oh, we have McEnroe and Borg.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Where is my racket? Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Bjorn. Shall we stand up?
Patrick, you know, I am your teacher.
You have a teacher?
You know.
Good.
Is this one?
Yes, it's this one. Yeah, it's this one. It's an amazing racket. So the name is XX300. A lot of control, a lot of power at the same time. And it has been a racket that is known for increasing the topspin. And you gain the control through the spin. So the players who use spin, I think it's an ideal racket for them.
I know this man.
You know this guy?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe. Allora ragazzi, io ringrazio davvero tantissimo una leggenda vivente come Patrick Mouratoglu, che è stato molto cortese e gentile a essere qui con noi. I wanted you sign,
Of course.
a few balls for the supporters, one for me, and the bigger one.
Thank you.
This is the pen. Io davvero ringrazio tantissimo Patrick Mouratoglu, una leggenda, io gli farei veramente un grande applauso, siamo onorati che lui sia stato qui con noi nello stand Dunlop e grazie naturalmente a tutti gli amici che ci hanno ospitato.